truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you can have a seat. Just pull up close to the microphone. Okay. Can you state your name for the record?
Deputy Joshua Hicks,
Okay, where are you employed?
Newton County Sheriff's Office.
And were you working there back on October 7th, 2017?
I was.
Okay. And what were your duties in the Newton County Sheriff's Office?
To answer calls for service, conduct traffic stops, and whatever else the sheriff may have us do.
And did you respond out on that date to a 12145 Highway 36?
I did.
Is that here in Newton County?
It is.
Okay, and what time did you arrive on scene?
Approximately 10:30.
And what was that in reference to?
A missing child.
Okay. And upon arrival, what did you first observe?
Lot 31 at the trailer park, and I went and met with the complainant, 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝘀.
Okay. And what did you speak with Ms. 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝘀?
I did.
Okay. Do you see 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝘀 in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you point her out by something that she's wearing and where she's seated?
She's to my right, and she's wearing a black, looks like a dress.
Okay. Let the record reflect that this is identified the defendant.
Let the record so show.
I guess when you spoke with her, what did she tell you?
She said that her child went missing earlier that morning around 10:30, that she was woke up by her daughter, her 2-year-old daughter, yelling "sissy, sissy," and when she went to the back, her child was gone. Okay. That her husband, or the father of her child, had then left to go look for her.
Okay, so she, I guess, said that 10:30 was when she noticed the child was missing?
That's correct.
Or around that time? Okay. I guess, what time did she say that she had last seen the child before then?
Around 5 or so that morning.
What was her demeanor when you first arrived?
I would say sporadic.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Like, and she would be calm, collected, and then as she began describing what happened to the child, she'd start to panic a little bit, and then she would go right back down to being calm, collected.
Okay. Did she indicate who else was in the home that night or morning?
She said her 2-year-old, Clarissa, Christopher McNabb, and herself, and Caliyah.
And who was Christopher McNabb, I guess?
The father of her child.
Okay. And was Christopher McNabb there when you arrived?
He was not.
Okay, where was he at?
She stated he was out looking for Caliyah.
Okay, where did she state that he was out looking for her?
She wasn't sure. She said he left around, believes, towards Highway 36 area.
At that time that you spoke with her, did she indicate whether or not she suspected anyone of coming in her house?
She was adamant that she didn't suspect anybody would come in and take her child.
And did you notice any signs of forced entry at that time?
I did not.
After speaking with 𝗕𝗏𝗶𝘀 and getting her initial statement, I guess, what did you do at that point?
We searched the house extensively, myself, Corporal Walden, and Deputy James. We searched the inside of the house, the surrounding parts of the house. We did about probably 3 to 4 different searches, checking every area where Caliyah may have been, and then we came back to the where we initially started searching.
And you spoke about a couple other officers that were out there with you, or those just other officers that responded on scene?
The Deputy James was actually the one I was training that day, so she was already in the vehicle with me. Corporal Walden was one of the supervisors that responded.
And were you a field training officer at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
And what does that really mean?
Pretty much any person that comes out of the academy and goes to patrol, they have to ride with an FTO, and they have to be pretty much trained in every part of the job that you may have to do.
Okay, and you said FTO. When you said that, you're referring to a field training officer, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. I guess you indicated that you sort of searched around the trailer, or in the trailer, then around the trailer. You eventually came back to the trailer. At that point, I guess, did you ever, during this search, did you come in contact with Christopher McNabb?
Not during the initial search.
Okay. At any point did you come in contact with Christopher McNabb?
I did.
Okay, and do you know when that was?
It was approximately 24 to 30 minutes after being on scene.
And do you see Christopher McNabb in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you identify him by something he's wearing and where he's seated?
He's wearing a black suit directly in front of me. Looks to be a blue shirt.
Okay, and let the record reflect that witnesses identified the defendant.
Let the record so show.
When you first made contact with him, where did he come from?
The area of Highway 36.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as, or I'm going to place on the 𝗕𝗵𝗿𝗶𝘀 what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 16. Okay. Can you see that clearly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And if this is the trailer park right here, where, I guess, can you point, you should be able to draw on your screen. Can you point sort of what direction he was coming from? And if you can't, if you'll give me, okay,
Is
now.
it draw?
There you go. Okay, so he was there when you first saw him, or?
He was a little further down, but that was the area
Okay,
about right there.
okay,
But he was coming from that direction.
okay. All right, and I guess what were, can you press clear up there? It only works from your screen.
All right.
And when you first made contact with him, I guess, what did you notice about him?
He was wet. He had looked like green stuff you might get from walking through the woods, and he was extremely nervous.
I guess you said that he was nervous. Can you describe his demeanor?
Fidgety, like going in and out of his pockets, looking left, looking right.
And I guess, did you speak with him at all?
I did.
What did he indicate that he had been doing?
He stated he was looking for Caliyah.
Okay. Did he tell you where he had been looking for Caliyah?
He stated he went through this area of the trailer park, or the wooded line right here through the trailer park, checked that area towards Henderson Mill Road.
Okay. And just, can you press clear again? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I guess if this is their home right here, the one that they were living in.
Oh, are you?
Is that?
No, ma'am. I believe theirs was actually up here.
Okay. So you're saying you made contact with him up in this area?
Yeah, that was where we initially made contact.
And did you eventually walk with him somewhere to sort of get the exact location of where he had gone?
Right. I asked him at what point of the woods did he make entry to go start looking for Caliyah, and he took me about right here and showed me that's where he went in. We didn't actually go in the woods at the time, but I just wanted him to show me where he initially went in.
Okay. And if this is if this was the easement where the power line would be, is that where he took you to, or did he show you up here somewhere in the wood line?
Could have been a little further down.
Okay. But you didn't actually go into the woods with him?
No, ma'am. Not
Okay.
I did not.
Okay. Could he indicate why he decided to look for his 14-day-old baby in the woods?
He never really gave a reason as to why.
And during all of these sort of interactions that we've talked about, did you have your body camera on?
I did.
And is that, I guess, how does that work?
You wear it on your chest area. It's got a cord that goes to what I had was like what they call an eye level type camera, and you turn it on, it'll go into a buffering state, and once it's done buffering, to record you double click on the middle of it, and then you hold down until it beeps to turn off.
Okay. And so that's something you have to turn on before you start, or when you go out to a call or something like that?
That's correct.
Okay, it doesn't automatically record every single thing that you're doing all day long?
No, it doesn't.
Okay. And I guess when it starts recording, does the body camera video back up a little bit?
Backs up 30 seconds.
Okay, and during those 30 seconds, does it cut out some of the audio's not recording?
Yeah, you won't be able to hear the last 30 seconds.
Okay. All right, may I approach the witness?
Right.
I'm showing you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 89. Do you recognize this?
I do.
How do you recognize it?
As my initials on the body-worn camera video.
Okay, is this your body-worn camera video?
It is.
From October 7th, 2017?
It is.
And have you had a chance to review this?
I have.
And when you reviewed it, is it a fair and accurate depiction of the events that took place on October 7th, 2017?
It is.
Okay. Your Honor, I would tender State's Exhibit 89 at this time.
No objection. Submitted without objection.
Permission to publish.
You may.
And Judge, I also have a stipulation to read at this time, if I may.
You may.
Sometimes redactions must be made to body camera videos Redactions are part of a video that are removed or skipped over. This could be for a variety of reasons, including that there are lag times in the video that are not relevant, or because the parties have agreed that certain hearsay is inadmissible. You are only to concern yourself with the portions of the videos that are displayed.
Agreed to by the attorneys.
I believe I didn't have the sound playing, so I'm going to back it up and start it from the beginning.
I hate to tell you, but the sound's still not playing.
Judge, Deputy Hicks first testified that there will be a 30-second lag at the
understand that.
beginning.
Is that what's happening?
I'm sorry, yes.
You made it sound like you're gonna put it back at the beginning and we can hear sound.
Sheriff's office.
Yes. Okay, I'll sleep right here. My husband fell asleep. Well, he's not husband, but he's my baby's father. My husband fell asleep right there. My child, my 2-year-old was back here at the top of the bed. My baby was asleep in her sleeper. The last time I woke up with her was around 5. Her package on the floor, her and her blanket's gone. I looked everywhere. My 2-year-old came and said she's gone.
Where was your 2-year-old sleeping?
Right there.
Right here?
Yes. I looked all in his clothes. I don't know where else to look.
And who would have possibly come and got her?
No one. I called my grandparents. I called my dad. I called anybody that would have came and got her. He went around the park to look for her. There's my cousin. I don't know where else. What now?
1 month.
She's 2 weeks old.
2 weeks.
Yes. I don't know where else to look.
Well, it's not like, couldn't have got up and walked
I don't know
away?
where else to look.
I thought Amy had, the child's father not looking for the child.
Yes.
She's walking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Maybe she got. But she does pick her up and tow her places. That's
Who?
my 2-year-old.
Who does?
My 2-year-old. I ran him.
When you start looking,
We're checking the house.
I've been looking for maybe 20 minutes.
Portable radio issues. We're checking the house right now. Okay.
She ain't gonna cry. Why?
Ressa,
I don't know why. She don't cry.
where live?
He went.
Yeah. Alright.
I'm gonna talk to the baker.
What was your husband actually here? Did you actually see him leave
Yes.
to go look for the baby?
Y'all got the wrong idea.
No, we're trying to clarify. We're trying to clarify.
My 2-year-old woke us up together. When he went, I sent him back there to check on her while I was loving on her because she was freaking out. I didn't understand why she was freaking out. She was standing right here, crying. I was laying right here. My husband was asleep right there.
Okay. What time did y'all go to bed?
I mean, we fell asleep the last time we got up with her around 5 something.
5 this
We
morning?
didn't even mean to fall asleep. Yes.
Okay, and she was in that crib back there?
Yes.
Or that little bed?
Yes.
With your 2-year-old?
Yes, sir.
At 5 this morning?
Yes, sir. I don't know where.
Were y'all sleeping on this bed?
No, we just visited, looking for her.
Why would... What time is it now? What time? 10:52. You noticed she was gone about what? 15 minutes ago, right?
About 20 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes ago.
Yes, sir.
10:52. Ten 10:32, 10:32, 9:57 radio. Radio, just advising, we're looking at a time frame between 5 a.m. this morning and about 10:32 this morning. Temple.
Yes, sir, I take care of that. Okay, well, we sure that the rest is clear. It's not like things, so we start processing.
Hey, you want to start a K9? Well, maybe the clothing or whatever, that's what I'm saying. Maybe they'll be able to pick up a clothing, a diaper or something, and maybe be able to track off of that. Just at least say if she's near here.
What's the signal plan listed in the apartment?
I doubt it. I mean, it's a baby.
2 weeks old. Did y'all both got up and went and looked and discovered at the same time?
I was loving on my 2-year-old because she was freaked out, and I didn't understand why. Then she started talking about baby sissy, and I said to make her check on her. We woke up together. I said, make up their check on her, and he's like, she's not here. She's not in here.
When she called me, I was screaming in the bathroom trying to find her.
Was she crying or anything prior to
I
that?
haven't heard her. No.
Any kind of medical issues she was having, complications?
No complications. She's perfect. She's 5 pounds.
5 pounds? Was she premature?
I went to the doctor yesterday.
And you don't have any idea who would have taken her?
No, no.
Nobody?
My baby's at stepmom.
Well, yeah, do whatever you can do to try to get in contact with him. We need to talk to him. Where's he at? Where did, I mean, what did he leave in a vehicle? And what's the baby's name? Caliyah? Caliyah what? 𝗕𝗿𝗵𝗿𝗶𝘀. 𝗕𝗿𝗵𝗿𝗀.
They call her Cat. It was just me, my 2-year-old, Caliyah, and Chris. Everybody's looking everywhere. She is not here. Is that her stepmom? Yeah. I mean, that's my first thought was she put her somewhere, but nowhere in here. All right, I was just letting you know in case you had her. Let me go off the phone, please. Yeah. Me too. I went to the closet, every box in the house, I looked in the trash can. Me and my son are at that house. I mean, this is really
Said you did lift the couch already?
I've been through that room right here 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
I've been through it once. I've been through it about 2 times. It's not.
kind of looked at it all. I left here, my baby's mom could tell you, I left here by myself all ago. 15 minutes maybe.
Was the child here last night?
The child was here, I
Where
said,
have you been for the last 2 days? Been with somebody else?
yes, sir.
Probably not.
No, sir. They brought her and, my two.
I don't have a 21, Brenda, can you handle that? Just a moment.
Okay.
I didn't think
It's
that.
just one day, one 25,
You
right?
can ask my baby's mom, we woke up.
I'm asking, that's good.
I need somebody to help me, I ain't got nobody.
You're not gonna come on the stand up.
Seems like everybody else has got somebody to do.
You need
I mean,
somebody?
the first thing that I heard this morning when she called her papa and told her papa about it, where's that boy at? Where's that boy at? I'm always the person who gets blamed for everything. That's my kid. That's my child. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the child is.
I'm more worried about that baby than everybody except her.
Okay. The child's been with another relative for the last couple of days, right?
My dad and my grandparents.
Been with them
Yeah, they
until
can't
last
took her
night.
without permission from her cousin's house.
But then I called the police to my friend's house where we went. And Officer Bartlett said to, instead of involving defects, to let my 2-year-old go
What
back.
address is that, do you know?
1873 Woodlawn, maybe. I think that's the right digit, I'm not sure.
1737.
Alright.
I'm not sure. It's Woodlawn Road.
1837?
It's Woodlawn Road.
Oh, that's not good address.
And then Officer Bartlett, told us instead of involving defects, to let my 2-year-old go to my dad's house for a couple days and just to let it blow over.
When did this happen? Tuesday?
Hey, are you good with me checking that area?
I'm sorry?
Are you good with me going and checking this area, wherever he was supposedly walked?
You can check it, but,
No, if you plan on getting a dog over here or not, because if you do, I don't want to mess up any type of trap.
I think, Bean was trying to talk to somebody about a dog.
Oh, I'm not going in the woods then.
Dog, you.
Me.
We got the K-9.
Mm-hmm. I don't.
We want to sort of get an idea what Dad wants, so what we're gonna do from the K-9 incident.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't think Dad will take you exactly the route, but, he said he was up in the woods, but maybe you can just sort of walk him up there and get a direction of the woods he said he's running in.
Okay. Dad, do me a favor, walk with me. Where did you go? I just want you to kind of give me a general idea. So,
I went straight through, there's a cut that goes straight through the
do
woods.
me a favor and walk over there. Okay? You said you walked through the cut because it cuts to Henderson Mill?
I was concerned that, because I don't know, my 2-year-old.
Said earlier, nobody's accusing you of anything. Right now, we're just trying to figure out where this 2-year-old is,
No.
and we need your help. 2 weeks, I'm sorry.
I mean, I have no idea.
I don't want you to go into the woods, but just give me a general idea that you went through right here.
I went through and went straight. It's like pretty much clear all the way through straight. It comes straight out of Henderson Mill.
Okay.
Fathers just want to try to get an idea of which area they went for.
And then you went all the way,
Like, see, if you step back right here,
uh-huh.
you look through that cut, it goes straight through, and you can see Henderson Mill Road once you get halfway down the
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I took a flashlight and everything, just to,
Okay.
you know.
To look around. You got it?
For the record, I'm now gonna play, the Hicks with McNabb.
You keep reaching in your pockets. I'm just curious if you had anything else. Oh, you're good. You're good. Okay. Do me a favor, stand here and just kind of communicate with this deputy right here.
I'm gonna end at 11 seconds in. So your body camera sort of ends when you're getting the story from McNabb of I guess the route that he had taken. What did you do after that?
We waited for Deputy Bowles to get there with Canine Elvis.
Okay. And I guess, did you, at some point, was an investigator called out on the
Yes,
scene?
ma'am.
Okay. And I guess, did he arrive on the scene?
He did.
Okay, did you brief him of what was going on?
I did.
Okay. Is that because, well, I guess, were you considered the first responding officer?
That's correct.
Okay. And you said that, I guess, Deputy Bowles was coming out with Deputy Elvis?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and is Deputy Elvis the K-9?
He is.
Okay. Did you stick around once they got there?
I did.
Okay. I guess without getting too into detail about what the K-9 does, is he a tracking dog or something like that?
He is.
Okay. Were you present while Deputy Bowles and Deputy Elvis sort of did their tracking of the area?
I was.
Okay. And I guess after watching I'm sorry. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on State's Exhibit 16. Because after watching the video, I guess right before the break you said that this was sort of the area that he had walked. Is that, or where he pointed at? I'm sorry. Okay, if this is the lot 31 where y'all were searching,
Right
here, okay. It appears on your body cam you sort of walk down the road and he shows you.
Right. He showed us the cut right here. That cuts to Henderson Mill Road.
Can you sort of, or try to draw a line where you're talking about? Is it working? Okay,
No.
one more time. Okay, now try.
There we go.
Okay. When, I guess, Deputy Bowles and Deputy Elvis arrived, and again, I don't want to get too much into sort of like how the tracking works, all of that kind of stuff, but you stayed within the whole time, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And did the K-9 track in sort of that same general area?
He did.
Okay. And what happened, I guess, after that search was, or after that one track with the K-9?
We went back to the command post, and we had another team, Alpha team, come in, and they were going to assist in the search.
Okay. And I guess were the Alpha team or Deputy Elvis, were they able to locate the body of, or locate the child at that time?
They were not.
Okay. And I guess during the track of the Alpha team, what happened during that? I guess were you present for that search as well?
I was for the second part.
Okay.
The second part of it, I pretty much waited right here, and then wherever the search went from that point on, I went with Alpha Team 2, because Deputy Bowles was with Alpha Team 1, and they pretty much did the same track, going through the woods right there, and they had me standing by.
Okay. After that search with Alpha team, what did y'all do?
Went back to the command post, which at that point had been moved to High Point Baptist Church, which was, it initially was in the actual trailer park, and we moved it over to High Point Baptist.
Why was it moved to High Point?
For a bigger area, bigger staging area.
Do you remember what day of the week this was?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Does Saturday sound correct?
It does sound correct.
Okay. And did all of the events that we've talked about today, did those take place on that one particular day, on October 7th?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember what the weather was like that day?
Kind of cloudy. I believe it had rained a little bit that day. But during the track, I believe it was clear. I don't remember it raining while we were actually tracking.
Okay, and after you said you went back to the command post, what did you do after that?
I waited to be pretty much dismissed by the commander of it.
Okay, at some point were you dismissed?
I was.
Okay. Did you have any further involvement in this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay, no further questions.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
All right.
Would you mind pushing clear on that one? Thank you, sir. So you first received a complaint about a child missing. What was the actual nature of the call?
It was a missing person,
Okay.
missing child.
And you were training Deputy James at that point.
Yes,
In the video, was Deputy James the one driving the car?
yes,
Okay. And that's a female?
that's correct.
Okay. So you and her were the first ones to respond to the scene,
Yes,
and then the larger, older man was that Deputy Walden?
Corporal Walden,
Corporal,
yes.
yeah, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with ranks, but Corporal Walden, and he's a more senior patrol officer, is that fair?
That's fair, yes,
Okay. And so the three of you were there for several minutes before anybody else got there, is that correct?
yes,
So as a responding officer, you are there's several things you're trying to do, is that correct?
yes,
You want to find out what's going on from the complainant, is that correct?
yes,
And you want to make sure the scene is safe,
yes,
and at some point, you're also helping look for the child.
yes,
Now, since you're a field training officer, that means you were completely trained at the time.
yes,
And to do that, you go through police training, law enforcement training.
yes. I go to the same academy she went to and go through the same field training process.
Right? Which academy did you attend?
Athens Regional Academy,
Okay. And when did you graduate or complete that?
December of 2013.
Right. And where have you worked since that time?
Patrol, and I'm currently assigned to the SWAT division and the warrant unit.
Okay. And that's all with Newton County?
It is,
Okay. So for 6 years, you've been on either patrol or SWAT, or you've been working as a deputy in Newton County,
yes,
and have to receive updated training as well. Is that correct?
yes,
So were you qualified to conduct a search in this case as you did? In other words, were you trained and qualified to respond to this scene and help out?
yes,
And did you do everything you could to the best of your ability?
yes, I did.
Okay. You earlier noted that you thought maybe the trailer was this one, and that you may have cut through in this kind of area here. Is that fair?
Based on my initial
Right.
look,
You just looked at the wrong one, but that's what you said earlier. Is that fair?
that's fair.
Okay, but then after looking at the video, you can see that it was actually this trailer here. Is that right? That was the trailer where that you responded to. Is that correct? When we first talked, you thought it might have been that trailer, but after looking at the video, it appears that it's actually this trailer. Is that correct?
It's possible.
Okay. And then you and Mr. McNabb actually walked in this direction over to this house here, and there's a gap in the fence right beside the house. Is that correct?
I don't recall.
Okay. And he pointed you in a direction this way as to where he initially walked. Is that correct?
Yes,
All right. And after looking at the video, you determined that it was actually this pathway right here that he showed you. Is that correct?
yes,
Okay. And according to Mr. McNabb, he traveled to Henderson Mill Road, then he went up to the church, and then came back down Highway 36. Is that right?
yes,
And then he came back down the Trailer Park Road, and that's where you saw him initially.
yes.
And he was speaking with,
Excuse me, Drew, for a second.
If y'all mind stepping up there. Okay, y'all may be seated. We're ready now, Mr. Carter, proceed.
Deputy Hicks, we were talking about the fact that you had training in doing this. You went and you spoke with Mr. McNabb, and you guys walked. Again, you've had a chance to review, so you do believe this is the trailer we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
That's Highway 31. You and Mr. McNabb walked along this road to here, and he showed you this cut through that there are power lines overhead, right?
I don't recall seeing
Okay.
power lines.
But that's the cut through that he showed you. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and can you, again with your finger, show us where from the road where he said he walked? Okay. All right. All right, thank you, sir. Now, after that, you did some other duties, but one of those was to get a tracking dog.
Yes,
And Deputy.Body is the, I don't know what he is, he's in charge of the tracking dog.
yes, he was the canine officer that day.
And you call the dog Deputy Elvis.
Yes,
Okay. And Deputy Elvis came out, and do you recall that Deputy Elvis was given a piece of Caliyah's clothing to track on?
yes,
Did you see that happen?
I did, but I can't recall what it was.
Okay. Had you been trained at all in tracking, use of dogs for tracking?
The only thing I was trained with was just to make sure what not to do,
Okay, all right. What are some of the things you're not supposed to do?
like walk in the woods where you may be tracking.
Okay, all right. And did you follow Deputy Bowles and Deputy Elvis where Deputy Elvis tracked?
Yes,
All right. And is it fair to say that that track went exactly the area you just pointed that Mr. McNabb pointed through?
yes, for the most part.
All right. Can you see well enough? Can you see this area well enough to let me know? I don't know how to focus. That didn't work.
There's a button that says focus.
Yeah. Oh, autofocus. Yes, thank you. All right. Can you tell us generally where Elvis tracked?
I can tell you generally
Yes.
that it was about that, pretty much that pathway, but it's an aerial view, so I'm not sure, like as we were actually tracking, if that's for sure the exact route we took.
And we're going to have some more specific information, but can you remember, to the best of your knowledge, where Elvis went?
To the best of my knowledge,
Yes, and can
it
you-
went that way.
All right, can you, yes. All right. Did he go all the way to Henderson Mill?
Yes,
Okay. Did he go past Henderson Mill?
yes,
Into the woods past Henderson Mill?
yes,
Okay. And at some point, he started doing a 100-yard radius circle, is that correct?
yes, he did.
All right, where was that circle?
Honestly, I don't recall on this map. I couldn't show you.
Okay. Was it past Henderson Mill Road?
I believe so.
After that happened, you called in another team, is that correct?
Yes,
It's your understanding that Deputy Elvis doesn't like to be around cadavers, is that correct?
that's correct.
Okay, so you called in another team, and this is a specially trained dog team from Georgia, is that correct?
I'm not sure if they're from Georgia, but they were currently in Georgia.
And they were actually training that day, is that correct?
Yes,
And they were called in, there are two separate teams, Alpha 1 and Alpha 2, and they were called in to help look for the child.
yes,
And those dogs, at least you didn't see maybe Alpha 1, but you saw Alpha 2 working, is that correct?
yes,
And those dogs tracked to the same general area,
yes,
right? Where the blue line is, they went up in that area,
yes.
all right? None of the dogs found the child at that time.
No,
Do you know where the child was eventually found?
no, I don't.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to point to it on the map.
If I told you that it was right here, would that be fairly accurate?
I still couldn't tell you.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Frost? You may step down. You may call your next witness. Oh, wait a minute. Do you have any redirect, Ms. Stone?
I do have one brief question, Judge.
Okay.
I'm sorry, we have a seat back. I believe at the end of your body camera video, you had said that he was sort of fidgeting around.
Yes,
Did he ever pull anything out of his pockets?
a flashlight.
Okay, and did he indicate what he was doing with that flashlight?
Yes, he said he went looking for Caliyah with it.
And at this time that he had just come back around, was it daylight at that time?
Yes, it'd been daylight since about 7:40, something that morning.
Okay, I have no further questions.
Deputy Hicks, you did indicate that Mr. McNabb was acting nervous and fidgety. Is that something that happened off camera? Because on camera, he did not appear to be nervous or fidgety. Was that something that you saw independent of the video?
That was on camera.
You thought that was nervous and fidgety?
Based on my training and experience, yes.
Well, you
That's
don't have,
somebody that's nervous.
do you know Mr. McNabb? Did
No,
you
no.
did you know him beforehand?
No,
Do you have any basis for knowing how he acts on a normal day?
no,
Okay. Do you have any training experience to know how you're supposed to react whenever your child's missing?
no.
Okay.
Anything else from anybody?
Nothing further, Judge.
You may step down, you may call your next witness.
State calls America James.
Any reason why he might not be excused?
No, Judge.
You're excused me further attendance on the court.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the matter now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you can have a seat. And will you state your name for the record?
America James,
Okay, and where are you employed?
Newton County Sheriff's Office.
And were you working there back on October 7th, 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you respond out to a report of a kidnapping that day?
Yes, it was in reference to a missing person.
Okay. And upon arrival, I guess, who did you meet with?
I met with 𝗕𝗶𝗀𝗶𝘀.
Okay, and I guess, I'm sorry, to back up, who were you riding with on that day?
On that day, I was riding with Deputy Hicks.
Okay. Was he your field training officer?
And what he was.
Okay. You said you met with 𝗕𝗶𝗀𝗶𝘀. I guess, where did you meet with her? Do you remember?
At her residence at Lot 31.
Okay. And what did you learn from her?
Well, she advised me that her child was missing from home.
Okay. And did she indicate whether she had looked for the child or anything like that?
She stated she was looking all over the place in her residence for her baby.
Okay. Did she call anyone to come help her?
She did. She advised me, she called Melissa, her cousin,
Okay.
and her husband, her baby's daddy was looking for the baby outside the property.
Did she indicate where outside the property he was looking for the baby?
She advised he was looking in the wooden area behind the property, or in front of the property.
So was he on location when you arrived?
No, ma'am.
Okay, this Melissa person that she talked about, was that person on location when you arrived?
No, ma'am.
What did you do after speaking with her?
I immediately conducted a search on the property. We looked everywhere, behind the couch, everywhere in the residence, everywhere possible where a 2-week-old baby will be placed at.
Did you look anywhere outside the trailer?
We did. We
Okay.
conducted, myself and my partner Hicks, look outside the property as well.
Did she indicate who else was in the house that night? Or morning, I'm sorry?
She advised herself, her 2-year-old baby, and Christopher McNabb.
And did you speak with anyone else on scene at the time?
A few minutes later, her family members arrived, and I talked to her grandparents, and this person, Melissa, arrived to the scene 20 minutes later.
Okay, are you sure you spoke with Melissa, or did you speak with her cousin, Megan?
Megan,
Okay.
correct that, yes, Megan.
And I guess you indicated that you searched a lot of places with your partner Hicks.
That's correct.
Did you have your body camera on at this time?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Okay, and since you were sort of learning and still on field training, does your body cam footage or body camera footage, does it track a lot of the same stuff that Deputy Hicks would have tracked?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you present, did you ever see Christopher McNabb that day?
Like about 20 to 30 minutes later, he came back from the wooded area right across from the residence, and I did make contact with him.
I'm going to show you what's been previously marked as State's Exhibit 9B. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you recognize it?
It has my initials and dated.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is it?
I believe it's the recording of the footage of the camera
Okay.
on that day.
And did you review this on the date that you listed here?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it a fair and accurate depiction of your body camera footage from that date?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Your Honor, permission to publish?
First, are you going to introduce
sorry.
any of the evidence?
Yes, Judge. I would tender State's Exhibit 90 at this time.
No objection.
Mr. Frost, any objections? Yes, sir. Admitted without objection. You may publish.
For you, I'm sitting here, no file.
You know everybody's gonna be here.
Was the door locked? Was the doors locked, or was the door closed? That door was unlocked. The only way I know is to look around, I went around the whole trailer. So somebody couldn't just come in and got it. The only reason why I went looking was because when she asked her, where's baby Sissy, she said, gone.
And we checked everywhere in the house?
We're there in this house, she changed upside down.
I mean, everything.
Everything.
We looked for a needle.
That's what I said.
Under beds, under mattresses.
Under couches, in stoves.
In clothes, in totes, in the bathtub, in her baby bathtub, in cabinets,
Where's the last time she was at when?
in her sleeper.
Where's that?
Daddy put it back there,
Where was it at?
in our room.
In front of the air conditioner back there, in front of the toddler's bed. I fed her at like, I don't know if it was 3:30, maybe 4 o'clock. I fed her her bottle.
That's her storage room, and she's over there, and she's not, and I was careful to make sure. Yeah, me too. I looked 2 or 3 times, told me she did it 3 times, she looked 2 or 3 times.
Did we check up here?
We had all this right now.
I look everywhere.
Look, this lady up here, Elaine Mom, Elaine always told me how pretty my baby is, I told her and stuff, and I don't know about that, but I don't know what my baby, but they're not there now. I went and knocked with her door first, she's nowhere to be found. And that's my only fucking thought that I can possibly come up with.
So where was the baby put in?
My baby was sleeping in her sleeper, the police said that, she was asleep in her sleep.
It's just you and your husband that's in here?
When you look up under that bed and everything. I got a bad back, so I sit down and smash.
I'm wondering if we could lift this mattress.
No, they don't want it, I want you to roll it out. I walked up to my friend's house, and she took me, my 2-year-old, and my baby's dad to look on it. And my dad was on the street, my cousin's house there. And then I called the police, and on the Martin was dead. Let all the color. And my 2-year-old younger, asked me to contact me back, and called me back, because he said, once you get involved with the government, it's hard to get out, he didn't want to do that. So, that's what I was going to tell you. So my aunt Kimberly, the girl that dropped us off told her daughter, and the daughter is my Aunt Kim's daughter-in-law. My Aunt Kim pulled up, so I sent her with, I think Lord told my aunt to take to my grandparents' house, and they kept them for 2 or 3 hours. 65 hours.
You
got a number for your grandparents who live on Island Road?
That's them up here.
Oh, they're here.
Yes.
So what about the people living on Woodland? Do we got a phone number for them?
We have Facebook for them.
Would they come get the job from you?
They don't even have a vehicle.
They don't?
Nobody that we deal with has any permission to
Yeah,
ever touch
not at all.
our children, period.
Not at all.
But the neighbor that lives across the street here is
He's crazy like it.
what's wrong?
He lying.
Like what?
He lying.
The other day, her and her mom were trying to get me to let her hold out there in the yard. I had her in my arms and I was rocking her. And I wouldn't let them hold her. I don't let nobody touch my kids.
What's her name?
Mom works for Johnny in the park.
You got Johnny's number?
In my phone, I got private. I just had it. Do you see it?
What?
You got my phone?
What's her name?
Just had it. You don't need this? The last thing she was wearing.
I'm taking it to the camera. Yeah, Nickel. Who's this Melissa girl?
Our friend that took us to Woodlawn.
Would they have the lady?
She came, she was the first one that I called, because she was the closest one here. She lives in an apartment up here. And she was too, she's not here.
Find this number for Johnny.
Okay.
When we call him, find out that lady's name is, we can get a phone number for her.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Be finding that. What part is it over here?
Not this one, but this one?
The blue part here?
Yes.
So that's them up there? Are you Elaine? Can you come over here, please?
They not come home. Black.
James, what did you do after your body camera footage ends?
At that point, I stayed up with them a little bit longer until the other deputies conducted a further investigation or search in the area. And then I transported Miss Bell to the LEC to be interviewed.
May I approach the witness, Judge?
Good.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 136. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what is this?
This is the living room part on the trailer
Okay.
property.
And is this a screenshot from your body camera footage?
That is correct.
So this fairly accurately depicts the scene that you saw on October 7th, 2017?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I would tender State's Exhibit 136 at this time.
Submitted without objection.
Permission. A little dark, but I guess, who are these people that are in this photo?
The lady on pink was identified as Ms. Bell and Mr. Christopher McNabb.
Okay, and was this sort of towards the end of your body camera
That is
video?
correct, yes, ma'am.
And you said that you transported Ms. Bell to, you said the LEC, but
Yes.
do you mean the law enforcement center?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that also sort of known as, like, the sheriff's
The
office?
sheriff's office,
Okay.
correct.
Okay. And I guess, did you wait with Ms. Bell for a little while?
I did.
Okay. And did you have any conversations with her?
That is correct, yes, we
Okay.
conversated.
Does that conclude your involvement with this case?
After my conversation with her, yes.
I have no further questions.
Good afternoon, Deputy James. How are you?
Yes, sir.
Good, good. You were still a trainee at the time that this happened, weren't you?
Correct.
You're still at Newton County today.
Yes, sir.
But you had gone through the Athens Regional Academy,
Correct.
and you're working with Deputy Hicks.
Yes, sir.
The two of you were the first ones to get there once the call was made to 911.
Yes, sir.
And you, Deputy Hicks, and Deputy Walden, or Corporal Walden, were primarily the first ones who really got the story, looked around and everything at first.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you tore that trailer apart looking for the child, right? I mean,
Yes, sir.
there was not, you looked in the freezer,
I did.
everywhere. She just wasn't there. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After law enforcement, I guess, realized that this was really a missing baby, she wasn't there and wasn't in the general area, a lot of people showed up, right?
Yes, sir.
Investigators
Yes, sir.
showed up. So usually a responding officer will come out and analyze a scene, and if they feel like an investigator needs to be called out, then you call for backup and investigator. Is that fair?
Yes.
And so Wade Freeman, Investigator Freeman came out?
Yes.
And did Investigator Alexander come out at some point?
Yes.
Okay. Approximately how many other people would you estimate had been there by the time that you left?
I would say that probably 15 officers and investigators.
Okay. And it was your understanding that some dogs, tracking dogs, were going to be used as well, right?
Yes, sir.
And were you there for when Deputy Elvis started tracking?
No.
Okay. You had training in tracking at some point before, though, is that right?
No.
You had actually been tracked before, is that fair?
Fair.
They had used you as bait? I don't know.
At that time, they advised me that I would have to transport Miss Bell
Right.
to the.
But previously, during your training, you had been used to be tracked by a dog.
Yes, sir.
Is that fair? How far away from the dog when it began tracking to the time it found you were you?
I was remaining, and I stayed at the property the whole entire time. I didn't go anywhere.
Okay, I'm talking about
I'm talking about during training.
During the training, yes, ma'am.
Less than a mile.
Okay. And some article of your clothing was given to the dog, and the dog was supposed to track you. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And did the dog find you?
Yes.
All right. According to the people who you were training with, the dog went almost directly to you. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. You were actually probably the first person, other than the 911 operator, to really get a story from 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝘆. Is that correct?
Yes.
We saw Deputy Hicks' cam, and he was kind of looking around, walking around, but you actually stayed in the trailer with 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝘆, and you spoke to her at that time.
Yes.
And at, 20 minutes after 911 called, is that approximately when you spoke with her?
I was on location with her the whole entire time, and 20 minutes later, Mr. McNabb came around.
And is it fair to say that within 20 minutes of the 911 call, you had gotten there, checked out the scene, and that you started speaking with 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝘆?
That's correct.
Right. And she told you that the last time she saw her child was around 5 o'clock in the morning,
Yes.
and that she had gone to sleep at that time,
Yes.
and that Mr. McNabb had received a text from his dad at 9:30.
Yes.
And at that time, the children were okay.
That's what she said.
Okay. And then a little bit before 10:30, her 2-year-old came to her and woke her up upset and said, "Sissy gone."
Yes.
Okay. So within 20 minutes of the 911 call, that was 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝘆's story.
Yes.
That's all I have, Judge.
Frost? Ms. Stone?
When they practiced tracking with you, when you went to, I guess, wherever they were tracking you to, did someone carry you to that location?
They walked me through that location. Yes,
So
ma'am.
you walked with your own legs?
Right.
Okay, no one picked you up and toted you over there?
No.
Okay. And did you weigh 6 pounds at the time that they did that?
No.
Okay. Were you wrapped in clothing?
No.
Were you inside of a bag?
No.
Were you down in a hole?
No.
Okay. And was it wet outside when they tracked you?
No.
Okay, no further questions.
Thank you, Judge. State's Exhibit 136 that was just admitted, that shows you in the living room with 𝗕𝗏𝗄𝘆 and Christopher McNabb, is that right?
Yes, sir.
During that period of time that we saw, there's a 5-minute period. Mr. McNabb is crying during that period of time, was he not?
Yes.
Okay. During that, thank you. Nothing further.
Anything further from anybody?
Nothing from the state judge.
You may step down. Any reason why she might not be excused?
No, Judge.
Excuse me, further attendance on the court. Call your next witness.
State calls Raymond Walden.
So are you all looking at this as investigating it rather as an abduction, a child abduction?
Whenever we do an investigation, we always take it to the highest order it could be. It started out as a missing child, but then we treat it as a potential homicide, kidnapping. And we take those type of efforts, we take it to that level to ensure that we cover all of our bases and that we develop as much information as soon as we can on any potential threats that the child faced, or that things that we need to follow up on in order to ensure the safety of the child.
Do we believe the child is alive at this point?
That's my best hope. I don't know. I don't have any indication that she's not, but a little baby that young who hasn't eaten, hadn't had adult supervision for this long, it gets more dire by the hour.
Happening before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down and have a seat. So just slide up to that microphone.
I got it.
All right, well, will you state your name for the record?
Raymond S. Walden,
Okay, and where are you employed?
Newton County Sheriff's Office, Uniform Patrol Division.
Okay, and were you working in the patrol division back on October 7th, 2017?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you respond out to Highway 36 in reference to a missing child on that date?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and I guess who else was there when you arrived? Deputy-wise.
Trying to think how many deputies. We pretty much got there at the same time. I believe Deputy Hicks, 9133, she was there. I got there. I don't remember if the other deputies were there, just in the area searching.
Okay, it's 9133, Deputy James.
Yes, I'm sorry, Deputy James.
And when you arrived, what did you observe?
Well, we parked in front of the trailer and went inside the trailer there, lot 31. It was a mobile home park. I got out and entered the trailer through the back steps. There's a wooden porch, and went inside the trailer where everybody was at.
Okay, and when you say everybody, who are you referring to?
Miss Bell and her small child. There was a couple other people inside the trailer looking for the child.
Okay, and when you say her small child was there, are you talking about like a 2 or 3 year old child?
Yes.
Okay, and you said they were looking for her child. That was a
2-week-old child. The missing child was approximately 2 weeks old.
Okay.
And they were looking for the baby.
And was she the only adult there at that time?
No, there was 2 or 3 other adults in the trailer that was in the front looking, and I got Miss Bell and was starting to interview her.
Okay, and what did Miss Bell say?
I'm sorry?
What did Miss Bell say?
She said that the child was in the trailer that morning at the end of back of the bedroom, and that when she got up, the child was missing. So I just started asking her some questions, and I asked her where her husband was.
Okay, and what did she indicate where he had gone?
She said he went out looking for the child, and
Okay.
so he wasn't around. So I was just talking to her.
Okay, did she indicate where he had gone looking for the child?
She said he went outside looking. Might have been the woods. There's some woods there, and the trailer park there was outside in the woods looking.
Okay. Well, what happened after you spoke with her? What happened after that?
Well, like I said, I spoke with her, and we did search the trailer thoroughly, making sure the child wasn't in there. And then I went outside, and then I was directing the other officers that came on the scene as a supervisor to tell them to go ahead and canvass the neighborhood, start one point, try to interview anybody that was there, see who's at home, and also search the immediate area for the child. And I was outside, and then that's when Mr. McNabb walked up.
Do you know how long you had been on scene when Mr. McNabb walked up?
Approximately 40 minutes.
Okay. And what was his demeanor when he first walked up?
When he first walked up to me, he was not excited or anything. He just walked up to me and looked at me, and I noticed he was soaking wet. His feet was muddy, and I said, "Where you been?" And he said he left the trailer and went into the woods. He said, "I walked from the trailer park to the woods, across the street, went across in the woods there, come back across, went to the woods beside the trailer, then I walked up here." I said, why did you go in the woods looking for a 2-week-old child? He said, I was just looking.
And I guess after you spoke with him, what did you do after that?
Well, at that time, the investigators that we called came to the scene, and I informed Corporal Freeman was the first one pulled up. I informed him what I was doing as a patrol supervisor, trying to get it situated, and that the family was in there. And then while I was there, Corporal Freeman asked me if I would transport Mr. McNabb to the 𝗕𝗵𝗃 for him. I said, sure. Placed him in my car and transported him to 𝗕𝗵𝗃.
And you said 𝗕𝗵𝗃.
Newton County Law Enforcement Center Jail Center, I'm sorry.
Okay. And did you end up doing that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I guess, did you have your body camera on this day?
I had it on, but I matched it. I thought it was recording. If I knew it didn't record. And then I had a rain jacket on most times, so we don't want to get them wet, so it was covered. But no, I didn't have it on.
Okay. And if this was October of 2017, how long had y'all had these body cameras?
Ma'am, I don't remember.
Had it been a long time? Had you been wearing a body camera for a long time at that point? Okay. Did you do anything further on the investigation, or I guess in your patrol duties? Did you have any further involvement on that particular day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What else did you do?
After I left the Newton County Law Enforcement Center, I went from the jail. I went back to the scene and assisted in the search. At this time, we had multiple units arrived on the scene, and I just assisted in setting up the area of the search and helping them do that, basically, just going through the woods and all.
And were any of those units able to locate the baby
Not
on that day?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I guess how did that day end?
We stayed there till dark, and then we all met, and they called the search off.
Okay. Did anything else happen the next day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, what is that?
Okay, at approximately 13:55 hours, I'm sorry, at 1:55 p.m., got a call to meet with Corporal Kent, who was at 270 Henderson Mill Road. He said that they had located the child and that he needs some crime scene tape. Well, I was in the immediate area because there was a search, other people were searching the area, so I responded to the scene with some crime scene tape.
All right, and what did you do after that?
Okay, I assisted him in putting up the crime scene tape. Sergeant Dickerson, who had located the child, he was around the area, and I didn't want to go near the crime scene. I knew better than that, so I just sort of stayed away and put up the crime scene tape, and he said that they'd located the child. And then at that time I said, I'm going to return back to the house trailer and see if we can locate Miss Bell or Mr. McNabb if they're there, and let them know. So I didn't want somebody to tell them or find out. So I went there and they were not there. So I said, I'm sorry.
Did either of them ever show up at the?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And who? Which one of them?
Miss Bell pulled up in a car accompanied by 2 other white females at approximately 15 hours, which is 3:15 p.m.
Okay. And at that time, did you speak with Courtney?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what did she say?
Or
what was y'all's interaction?
The interaction was that I asked her, I said, you aware? She said, I got a text that they found the baby in the woods. And so I said, are y'all missing a backpack or anything? And she said, yeah, my husband has one. It's hadn't seen it in a couple of days. And I said, describe it to me. And she said, it's a drawstring type backpack, and it's Nike. It's blue on one side with a red emblem, and red on one side with a blue emblem on it. And she said my husband McNabb keeps it with him all the time. He carries his clothes in it, but she hadn't seen it in a couple of days. And I said, well, where is he? And she said, well, we was in the car, and when I got the text that they found the baby in the woods, he jumped out of the car and said, they're going to blame me for it, and took off running. So we drove on here. So with that information, I gave a lookout, told him where he was at, and in the area he was at, and I kept her there. And then James Stevens, 954, arrived on the scene. I talked to the investigator, and they said, well, just have her come down to the law enforcement center. So I asked James if he would transport her, and asked the other two ladies if they would follow. So they left and went down there. Then I went back to the crime scene just to keep the crowd back, and that was it.
So you instructed all three of the 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 and the two people that she was with, you instructed them to head down to the sheriff's office?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I guess after you went back to the crime scene, were you just securing that scene?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you do anything further on this case after that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I have no further questions.
Barbara. Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Corporal.
Hey, buddy.
How are you?
I'm fine.
Good. You were one of the first three people to arrive. You, Deputy Hicks, and Deputy James were the first three people?
That I remember, yes.
Okay. And you were, other than the 911 operator, one of the first people to speak with 𝗕𝗏𝗏𝗏 about what happened.
Yes, sir.
And she told you that the last time she saw her child was about 5 o'clock in the morning. Is that right?
I don't recall the exact time she said she saw it, but it was early in the morning.
Somewhere early in the morning. And she was asleep until around 10, well, just a few minutes before she called 911, and then she found that her child was missing. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
And she said that Mr. McNabb was with her when she woke up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You helped in the search of the trailer, is that right, to some extent?
I was there. I didn't do a lot of the searching, though,
Right.
so there was enough adults in there looking through the
Right.
trailer, and
Yes, sir.
they knew more about it than I did.
And you transported Ms. Bell or Mr. McNabb to the
Mr. McNabb.
Mr. McNabb to the law enforcement center, and then you went back to the scene to help with the search. Is that
Yes.
correct? Right. At its high point on October 7th, approximately how many deputies were out there helping to look?
Maybe, other county, maybe 15 to 20.
Okay. And were there civilians helping to look at that point?
Sure.
Approximately how many civilians were
I
out?
couldn't answer. There's quite a few people out looking on their own.
Okay. And at some point, Deputy Bowles and K-9 Deputy Elvis came to the scene.
Several K-9s came out that day.
Right. The first one was were you there when Deputy Elvis came? And Deputy Bowles?
I'm sure I was. I don't
Okay.
recall seeing them because we were such a large scene.
Yes, sir. And do you recall that Deputy Elvis and Deputy Bowles kind of found a path that became the center of the search area?
I have no knowledge of that.
Okay. Do you recall that the Alpha team came out, which is the specialized dog team?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall that they also went down the same path toward Henderson Mill Road?
So I don't know what path they took. I'd be honest with you. I was at the main center there, and I was securing that, staying there, assisting them, but I didn't do the search or participate in that.
Absolutely.
So I don't know which way they went.
Yes, sir. When Mr. McNabb, and I'm sorry to have to go back, I didn't mean to go out of order. When Mr. McNabb initially came down from Highway 36, you were the
Yes.
first person to see him, is that correct?
I can't say who saw him, but he did approach me.
Yes, sir. And he was wet, you said?
Yes.
His feet were muddy?
Yes.
You could clearly tell he had been through the woods, is that right?
I don't know where he'd been in the woods or not. I can just say it was wet and muddy, and he said he was in the woods.
And it had rained just prior to this,
It was raining
at some
then.
point that night.
Yes, sir.
And it was raining a little bit, drizzling then?
Yes, sir.
All right. Inside the house, do you recall anyone finding muddy shoes, anything of that nature, muddy clothes, wet clothes, or anything? Do you recall that specifically?
Not particularly, no. We weren't looking for that.
Okay. That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Frost?
Yes, sir. How you doing, sir?
Been better, but okay, thank you. You happen to hear that 911 call when it went out? Are you familiar with it?
I hear the call.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in it, my client, you heard my client state that she went to bed at 5 o'clock. That was the last time she saw the child safely. Correct?
She didn't. You talking about what she told the 911 dispatcher?
Yes, sir.
I have no idea what she told the dispatcher.
Okay. Did you hear any of the traffic going back and forth?
Not between them, no, so that's
Okay.
recorded through the 911 center, they don't come through us.
But what she told you was that she went to bed at 5 after being up all night with the child?
She didn't tell me that, she just said that the child was in the back bedroom, and she checked on the child, and the child was missing.
What time was that?
When she called 911, and we got the call, the child was missing.
So that was approximately 10:30?
10:32 is when the call came
10:32.
out.
And she said at that time that, did she mention that her other child was visibly upset?
She didn't tell me that.
Okay. So basically, she just gave you the times that she last saw the child and...
The child was missing is what we was looking for when we started searching.
All right, but my client was there or she actually came back to Lot 31 when you were there, correct?
What day, sir?
The day that the search was ongoing, when they found the child.
When they found the child was the next day.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. She came back to the trailer. Yes,
Correct.
sir.
I'm sorry if I was confused with the dates. And she was fully cooperative with you?
Sure.
Well, I mean, was she not?
Well, yes, sir, she's cooperative. I asked her a few questions. She answered them. She wasn't evasive
All right.
or anything. Wasn't.
She went willingly to the sheriff's department for
Yes,
the
sir.
statement? That's all I've got. Thank you.
Ms. Stone,
Nothing further.
you may step down. Let me call your next witness.
State calls 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗎. Matter now pending before the court, with the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, you can put your hand down. And will you state your name for the record?
𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗎, B-O-W-L-E-S,
Okay, and where are you employed?
Newton County Sheriff's Office.
And were you employed there back on October 7th, 2017?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what were your duties at that date?
I was assigned to the patrol division as a K-9 unit.
Okay. And on that date, I guess, well, can you sort of explain what a K-9 unit is?
Well, K-9 unit is a handler assigned with a K-9 partner. I was assigned to a bloodhound who was certified in tracking.
And on that date, did you respond out to Highway 36?
I was,
And was that in reference to a missing child?
for a K-9 track, yes.
Okay. And were you actually working on that date?
No, I was off.
Okay. Were you called specifically in to track?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I'm sorry. Can you explain sort of the different types of K-9 unit dogs that there are?
There's a wide variety of canines from, you know, the popular bomb sniffing dogs to helping dogs who are trained to assist with opening doors and leading people. Ones with vision impaired dogs are able to lead them through traffic. There's cadaver dogs and there's narcotic dogs, and my dog is tracking.
Okay. And what does tracking mean?
Tracking means he's trained to follow the scent of skin cells that we leave behind in our area.
And is that different from like what we would hear as a cadaver dog?
It's very different. A lot of tracking dogs can't stand the smell of decay and they won't go near it.
So is deputy.Body, your K-9, is he just a tracking dog?
He's just tracking.
So he's not a cadaver dog?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And have you and deputy.Body, I guess, do you go to trainings with deputy.Body?
We do.
Okay. And have y'all been to multiple of those trainings?
We have.
Okay. And can you explain sort of that?
We were partnered for 8 years. During the 8 years, we start off with a 1-week course. He's naturally trained to follow a scent. He's trained from following a scent to just human scent, and then I'm trained to watch his body language as to what he's telling me. He'll have body language to tell me he's on a trail, or he'll have body language to tell me he's following an animal or something like that, and we have to distinguish the differences. We also learn how to read the area and see how the terrain and weather and other factors affect the scent and its movement as well.
Okay. So on October 7th, 2000, I guess you talked a little bit about how the scent is affected by different aspects.
That's correct.
Okay. Well, let's back up. Did you actually go out on October 7th?
I did.
Okay, and what did you do when you first arrived?
When I first arrived for a missing persons track, I interviewed the people who called it in to find out where they've been, what they've done, so I can distinguish my dog's body language from, see if they're either on their trail or what areas I may need to look at to see what he's going to do at.
Okay. And does that require you getting some sort of item that the person's skin cells will be on?
One thing we'll do, we'll try to find some kind of article for him to follow, and something that's the person has been in contact with. We try to get something that's been the closest to skin contact, usually underwear, shoes, socks, pillowcases we can use.
Okay. And did you get some sort of item like that on October 7th?
After speaking to the parents, they told us the sleeper was the only thing in the house that hadn't been washed that the child was recently wearing.
Okay. And what do you do with that item then?
I'll take the item and put it in a bag. Then I'll take it and put it in the wheel well of a car to heat it up, and that increases the scent. And then once I get my dog harnessed up in his tracking harness, then I'll take that scent bag and place it over his head and give him a command to check, which means to look for that scent and get used to it. And then once I remove that bag from him, I'll do away with it so he's not going for that. And then I'll give him another command of track, and then he knows he needs to start looking for it, and then I just follow him where he goes.
And so did you do that, all of those things you just described, did you do that on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 16.
I think it's on this table.
Okay, and do you recognize sort of this area?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And where did you first respond out to?
The fifth trailer on the top of the U shape there.
Okay. Are you talking about this one right?
That's
here?
correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And can you sort of explain what? And you can, I think, draw on your screen. So can you sort of indicate? Can you press clear? I'm sorry. Okay. Can you sort of indicate where you first started the track, or where Deputy Elvis started?
We started the closest to the trailer. It's very sensitive. Right there, and then once we would do several circles around and just getting bigger and bigger until he decides. Then he came down this way through this trail, and then we went across Henderson Mill Road and into the logging area.
Okay. So he tracked sort of that trail where there's like an opening.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I guess was Deputy Elvis able to? Can you press clear? Was Deputy Elvis able to locate the child?
At that time, we were not.
Okay. Are there some sort of factors that make it more difficult or less difficult or easier, I guess, for a canine to track?
There's a lot of factors, everything from special needs. Some animals, special needs people put off a certain scent, and the dogs won't track that. In this case, the biggest factor was the size, age of the child, where it was too small to walk on its own and leave its own trail. So it had to be carried, and then if it was wrapped up in something, then those skin cells were less likely to leave that wrapping and leave a trail.
Okay, so I guess a person, as they're walking, do they leave their scent?
Yes, when you walk, your clothes kind of breathe and move back and forth, causing the skin cells to come out the collar and under your shirt and your pants leg, and it just leaves an invisible trail that we can't see, that the dogs are able to distinguish that.
Okay, does the weather ever affect tracking at all?
The weather's humidity. High humidity causes the scent to leave the ground, which means the dog has to work harder to find it. Wind, it blows it around. Temperature, higher the temperature, less active the scent is in the open area. There's terrain, being in a grass, concrete, and wooded area, all those have different effects on the scent.
Okay. And I guess after you finished your track with Deputy Elvis, what else did you do?
After we finished the track, we came back, and during the track, we located some shoes, and so I photographed and collected those on the way back for preservation.
Okay. And did you, I guess, did you ever call out another team?
We did.
Okay. And who was that?
Alpha Group.
Okay. And did they sort of attempt to track as well?
They did. Their dogs are trained for cadaver recovery, so they came and they searched as well.
Okay. And were they able to locate the
At
baby?
the time, no, ma'am.
Okay. Does that conclude your involvement with this case?
Yes, ma'am.
I have no further questions.
All right. Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Deputy Bowles. How are you?
Evening.
Good. That was getting close, isn't it? You and Elvis have worked together for 8 years?
That's correct.
Did you have a dog before that?
No, sir.
Okay, it's your first one. And you say he follows skin cells, and he doesn't like the smell of a cadaver.
That's correct.
Okay.
We've come across that several times, and he won't go near it.
Is it just something about him? Like, in other words, is it just?
It's just him, yes.
It's just him, okay. So he wouldn't be able to be trained as a cadaver dog because he just doesn't like the smell?
That's correct.
All right. The cadaver smell doesn't happen immediately upon death, right?
I'm not trained in that, so I couldn't be the specific on that.
Okay. So you and Elvis started here at the trailer, which is lot 31. I'm sorry. And you went round and around the trailer, basically, till he found something, a specific direction he wanted to go.
Yes, sir.
All right. And based on your training and his action, did it appear that he picked up something he found familiar?
That's correct.
And to the best of your knowledge, your understanding at that time was he picked up the scent that you had given him at the trailer?
Being that the sleeper was in with other items, then can't say exactly which one because I'm not able to see the scent that he is. So he has a body language that tells me he's on human scent. So around the trailer, it would create a scent pool where it sits still, it just collects and collects and collects. So that's why we slowly get bigger and bigger. And once he found a trail that left that area, that's when his body language would change, and then we would continue following that.
So you don't know if it was the sleeper that you had him smell of Caliyah's, but you believe it was something that he found familiar from that trailer?
That's correct.
All right. And he acted as if he was tracking a human scent that you wanted him to track?
That's correct.
And he took you from the trailer here and took you to this cut through. And actually, you wouldn't go all the way down to the cut through. Did he go right beside that building where there's a gap in the fence?
Yes, sir. We went through the fence.
Okay. So there's a fence cut across right here, but right here beside this house, there's a gap. Is that right?
It's hard to see, but it's a little bit further down. Yes, sir. Right there is where we would go through right there. Because it was trash and stuff built up, and we followed that.
All right, so you went up that way, and you followed that line through what appears to be a path.
Yes, sir.
In that area, there are electric lines overhead, right?
Yes, sir.
So it appears to be electrical easement.
Yes, sir.
And somebody clears that out so there are no trees and no brush in that area.
Yes, sir. It's pretty clear. It's just small weeds and briars.
And it was muddy that day.
It was that area was pretty dry.
Okay, all right. And he took you up that easement all the way to Henderson Mill Road.
That's correct.
And then he took you on up past Henderson Mill Road up to this logging area.
That's correct.
Now, at some point, I believe in your report, you said that you started a perimeter.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that where you started the perimeter at the logging area? Or did you start the perimeter at the trailer?
I don't remember. I wasn't part of the perimeter.
Okay, all right, as far, but once you got to that logging area, did you just turn around and come back?
No, sir. We went further down in there. I would say probably several hundred yards in there to where it starts going downhill to a creek.
Okay. Why did you stop?
He began circling. There was some back in further down in this area. There was some trees down where they had been clearing, and he just kept circling about 100 yards in that spot. He wouldn't go in. And he just, when he doesn't want to go in an area, there's usually something there that he doesn't want, for some reason. He'll take me through briars and whatever, it doesn't matter. But when it's a large area, there's an odor he doesn't want.
Okay, and so this was past the picture in this area?
Yes, sir.
So based on his actions and your experience with him, did you think that maybe there was a dead body in that area that he wouldn't go near? Is that kind of what you were thinking?
From my past experience, that was an explanation, and because we visually searched the area, which we could, and we didn't see anything.
So his actions led you and other officers to search in that particular area. Is that fair?
Area and around the trailer.
Okay. And would it be fair to say from the trailer to that area?
Yes, sir.
Along the path that he told you?
Right.
And you wouldn't have just been one person walking the same area, you would have spread out?
We don't, anytime we work as multiple teams, we don't communicate until the end of where we've tracked, what we've done. So that way, because the dogs can sense us, so it kind of manipulates them, so we don't communicate until afterwards.
Okay. After you and Elvis finished up, then you called in what's called the Alpha Team.
That's correct.
That is a specialized dog training team from Georgia.
That's search and rescue, yes.
Search and rescue team. And they have several specialized dogs.
My understanding, yes, sir.
And some of those dogs are both tracking dogs and cadaver dogs.
That's correct.
And they're, the handler, for those dogs, all they have to do is just give them different commands and they'll go from tracking to cadaver. Is that fair?
I'm not familiar with that. Okay. That's how their training is.
Okay. Approximately how many dogs came from the Alpha Team?
I want approximately, without knowing the exact number, 3 or 4.
Okay. There was Alpha Team 1 and Alpha Team 2. Were there 4 on each team or just 2 on each team? Do you recall?
I don't recall.
Did you and Elvis go out with them?
No, so I did. He was tired, so I put him back in the vehicle to cool down, and then as support for them, because they didn't have communication with us as first responders, so we would all team up and go with them as first support.
All right. And so you did that. You went with at least one of the teams?
Yes, sir.
Did you go with both the teams? Do you recall?
I believe just stayed with one team.
All right. How many dogs were in that particular team?
2.
All right. And is it true they went down the same pretty much path you did?
Yes, sir.
Did they go past Henderson Mill Road?
They did.
All right. And they were unable to find the child as well?
That's correct.
Do you know where the child was found?
Later on, I did learn, yes, sir.
Okay. And the child was actually found on this side of Henderson Mill Road, correct?
I believe, yes, sir.
Just to the right of where Elvis tracked?
Yes, sir.
And you believe that Elvis was able to pick up a scent somewhere around this trailer, take you all the way to within a few feet of the child and not find the child?
As I said, I can't guarantee where we're tracking the child. We could have been tracking the person carrying the child. And that means the scent, once you get to Henderson Mill Road, the traffic would have swirled the scent around and moved it. And it also could have brought it into the woods down to the creek. So like I said, we don't know if he was, because I'm not able to see what he tracks to say he was on the child or the person carrying it.
Elvis and every dog on the Alpha Team, they basically had one job, and that is get that scent and go find the child. None of them were able to do it, even though they were within feet of the child.
Like we don't know, being that the child have to be carried, We don't know if we was tracking the child or what the person carried.
Or maybe the child wasn't there whenever you were searching. Is that possible?
I wouldn't know that.
Thank you. That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Frost?
Nothing, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Stone?
The shoes that you talked about finding, did you give those to the crime scene technician?
I did.
Was that Mickey Kitchens?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no further questions.
Anything further? You may step down.
So,
Okay, and if you come out of those apartments onto Highway 36, do you turn left?
actually, you can go up to the last entrance, and
Okay.
it's up on the hill. You ain't gotta get on Highway 36.
Okay, so they are right next door.
Right.
Okay. I'm gonna direct your attention back to October 7th of 2017. Do you remember being at your house that day?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened on that day?
I got a call, or got a text, that morning, about 10 o'clock, saying the baby's gone. And I didn't know who it was. I didn't recognize the number. And I text back, and it said Courtney. So I walked up there with my grandson, and Chris was on the porch screaming, "They're gonna think I did this." They're gonna think I did it. He was hysterical.
Okay, and so you say you walked up there. Are you talking about you walked to Courtney and Chris's trailer?
Correct.
Okay, and that's when you made contact with Chris?
Correct.
Okay, and where was he standing at the time?
On the front porch.
Okay. What did you do after that?
I went up to him, and I said, "Chris, calm down. What's going on?" And he just kept screaming, "They're gonna think I did this."
And what did you say back to that?
I told him to calm down and let's figure out what's going on. He said, "The baby's gone."
Okay.
And I walked in the living room, and he walked with me, and I grabbed his hands and told him to calm down.
Okay, and what happened after that?
He left, and I asked Courtney if she called the police yet, and she said no. And I just felt like something wasn't right, and I had my grandson, so I told my grandson to run, and I left.
Okay, and do you know where he went at that time?
No, I don't.
Okay, but I guess he left before you left, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. And had Courtney called 911 at this point?
Yes, she was on the phone with him whenever I left.
Okay, so when you decided to leave, she called 911?
Correct.
Okay. And after, I guess, what was Courtney's demeanor during all of this interaction that you had?
She was calling out Kylie's name, or Caliyah's name, and while she was on the phone, you know, looking up in her clothes and stuff.
And what did you do after you went back to your house?
I called Craig.
Okay, and who is Craig to you?
Craig is my son-in-law.
Okay, and I guess, how is he your son-in-law?
Diane Davis is my daughter, and he's with her.
Okay. And do you know, is Craig related to Courtney?
Yes.
Okay, how is he related to her?
Cousins.
Okay. Did you see Courtney and Chris anymore that day?
No, I didn't.
Well, I guess later that night, did you ever see them?
Yes, I took the kids home. I had my grandkids with me, and I took them home, and they was at my daughter's house.
Okay, so you took your grandkids home to your daughter's house, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
Okay, and what time was that at?
Probably 11:30, 12 o'clock.
Okay, and when you arrived, who all was there?
Courtney, Chris, and Diane, and Craig, and the kids were in the bed.
Okay.
I had only two of the grandbabies, and the rest of the grandbabies was in the bed.
Okay, and did you speak with Courtney and Chris at all?
Yes, I did.
Okay, what did you talk to them about?
Courtney was talking about some guy kidnapping the baby, and Chris was upset not knowing what the baby was wearing.
Okay, and what happened after that interaction?
They asked me to babysit while they went and did some riding.
Okay, what were they riding around for?
Looking for the baby, I guess at 𝗕𝗲𝗹𝗹's houses, I'm not sure. I'm not the one that drove.
Okay, so you didn't go with them at all?
No, I didn't. I stayed with the babies.
Okay, and did they return that night?
Yes, I did.
And do you know when that was?
About an hour and a half later.
Okay. Did you speak to them when they got back?
No, I left.
Okay. And did you see Courtney or Chris anymore after that interaction?
No, I seen Courtney one time. They rode through the trailer park, and the news people were there, and up near my apartment. And she told me not to speak with them, and they took off and they left. And then I seen Courtney one more time on the front porch of my daughter's house, and we didn't speak though.
Okay. All right. I have no further questions.
Mr. Cole?
Thank you, Judge. Good afternoon, Ms. Davis. How are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Good. So you knew Courtney and Chris pretty well.
Not pretty well, but I knew him for a couple months,
You saw them fairly often.
pretty much.
And when Courtney and Chris realized that the child was gone, they called you first because you were closest friend nearby. Is that fair?
I'm not sure. I didn't stick around and ask why.
Okay. But you did go over to the house.
Yes, I did.
And you did see Chris.
Yes, I did.
McNabb. Now, you actually grabbed his hands.
Yes.
And you told my investigator, Mr. Hall, that you noticed that he was clean.
Yes, he was.
His hands were clean.
Yes.
His clothes were clean.
Yes.
He did not, his shoes were clean.
He looked like he was normal.
Okay. He did not appear that prior to seeing you, he did not appear that he'd run through the woods or been
No,
wet,
sir.
had been in the rain at all.
No, sir.
Okay. And then at some point while you're still there, Chris left.
Correct.
And you clearly saw him leave. Is that fair?
He wasn't there no more. He wasn't around when I left.
Okay. When he left, though, you saw that he wasn't carrying anything.
No, he wasn't carrying nothing.
Okay. And you're positive about that when he
I'm
left?
positive because I grabbed his hands.
Okay. When he left the trailer, he did not have anything in his hands.
No.
That's all I have, Judge.
Mr. Frost?
Ms. Davis. Good evening.
Good evening.
All right. When they first got to lot 31, you were there already?
When the police got there
No, when Chris and Courtney did.
to lot 31, is that their trailer?
Yes.
Yes, Chris and Courtney was there.
Okay. And you said Chris was, I think your word was hysterical,
Yes.
and Courtney was crying out for the child,
She wasn't crying. She was just hollering.
crying out the child's name.
Yes.
And she said to you something about kidnapping?
She said she wasn't sure if her me, mom, and papa had gotten the baby.
Oh, so she was talking about whether or not there was a possibility that her grandparents had come.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Ms. Stone?
When you arrived that morning, was it light outside?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you left, was it light outside?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, no further questions.
Anything further?
No, I'm sorry, Judge, nothing further.
You may step down.
Sorry, thank you.
You may call your next witness.
State calls Wade Freeman. Hand down that seat. And will you please state your name for the record?
Yeah, Wade Freeman,
Okay. And where are you employed?
Newton County Sheriff's Office.
And were you employed back on October 7th, 2017?
Yes, I was.
And what were your duties at the Newton County Sheriff's Office at that time?
I was a corporal in Investigations Division.
Okay. And is the Investigations Division, do y'all call that the Criminal Investigations Division?
Yes.
Okay. And what does that entail?
Our unit does investigations on crimes. Patrol goes out, they patrol, they take reports. According to the situation, they may call an investigator out to the scene, or the reports are passed on to us to investigate at a further time according to the seriousness or the type of the crime.
Okay. And I guess, did you respond, back on October 7th, 2017, did you respond out to a 12145 Highway 36?
Yes, I did.
Okay, is that here in Newton County?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what time that you were actually called out on that?
I don't recall the exact, it was between 11:30. I'm thinking it was more like the 11:15-ish time.
And what was that in reference to?
That was in reference to a missing person, possible kidnapping of a child.
Okay, can you explain the on-call investigator system?
Yeah, the investigations division is actually we all work together, but we also run two separate on-call rotations. One on-call is we consider general investigations, and then the other is the major felony investigations unit. So there's different investigators on each side. I was on the general investigator side at the time, and property crimes, missing persons, a lot of crimes like that is what general investigations does, and then major felony, of course, major being the more serious felony crimes they investigate.
Okay, so would that be sort of like your murders, armed robberies?
Murders, armed robberies, aggravated assaults, those type things.
Okay, and And I guess you said that you were the on-call investigator in the general sort of unit on that date.
Yeah, general investigations handles missing persons and that type of thing.
Throughout this case, did you remain the lead investigator?
I did not.
Sorry, why is that?
Well, because of the nature of the crime, it became evident pretty quickly that with the age of the child, the situation as it was, that it seemed like it was going to head into a major felony case. So although I was technically the lead that day, I pretty quickly went ahead and evaluated the situation, notified my supervisor, who then agreed that we go ahead and call a major felony in on this situation also.
Okay, so when you first arrived on scene, what did you do?
When I first got to the scene, I met with the on-scene responding officers, found out all the information that they had. They passed on information to me. And then pretty quickly called my superior to let them know the situation as it seemed at the time.
Okay, and what was the initial information that you had?
That there was a 14-day-old baby just missing from its bed. The parents had last seen it around, I believe it was 9:30 that morning, something like that. And then when they woke up approximately an hour later, it was missing.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I guess based on the information that you had, what did you do on scene?
Okay, on scene, once I called out for more manpower, because I'd been told that the child was missing, that there had been a search in the woods already. By the time I got there, there was already a dog on the ground doing a canine search. I went and started speaking with 𝗕𝗱𝗶𝘀𝗀, specifically talking to her about the situation, trying to gain facts from her, go back over what she had told the initial responding investigators to determine exactly what needed to proceed from there. At that point, Investigator Alexander came down. He arrived. He would be the on-call major felony investigator. We discussed it, and then we kind of parted paths on for that day as to our task and what we were doing.
Okay. And I guess what task did you perform after that?
At that point, there had been several different theories given to me about where the baby may be. Christopher's dad, I believe his name was Michael McNabb, was a possibility. Somebody had spotted a truck in the area that resembled his truck. They thought that maybe he had come down, found them asleep, took the baby without their knowledge. So I was trying to reach Mr. McNabb, Michael McNabb, to make sure he didn't have the baby. There was a neighbor that it was put out there that possibly she had taken a liking to the baby. Possibly she came in while they were asleep and took it. So I located them. They gave us consent to search their home there, conducted a search in their home, make sure the baby wasn't there.
Sorry, when you talk about the neighbor, is that a trailer home that was close to 𝗕𝗲𝗹𝗶 and Christopher McNabb?
Yeah, the road curves. They're not necessarily side by side, but they're very close. You can look out of one trailer and see the other one if you look at an angle. And they're almost next door neighbors, but the way they sit, they're not parallel to each other or anything like that.
And I guess you checked that lead based on information that Courtney had given you?
Yes.
Okay. And I guess, did you also check up on, I guess they said that Michael McNabb, Christopher McNabb's dad, may have taken the baby?
Right. It took me a little bit to finally reach him by phone, but he was in Tennessee. So there, I kind of marked that one off the list too as a possibility where this baby may be.
And are those the only two ideas that they gave you at that point in time?
The one thing was mentioned that Papa, which was Courtney's dad, Clarissa,
I'm sorry. I believe you're about to get into something that may we approach very briefly.
until the Bales came back home, and I was on the scene down there when they arrived back on the scene that day.
And when you're saying the Bells, are you talking about Courtney Bell and Christopher McNabb?
Yes, I'm sorry,
Okay.
Courtney Bell and Mr. McNabb.
Okay, and so after that, you went home for the day?
We debriefed and then ended the search for the day, and then I was back out the next day.
Okay, and what did you do on the next day?
I received a call that there's a possibility the baby had been found, and so I responded to the scene where the baby was.
And what did you do once on scene?
I stood by while we recovered the body, and then we went to do some interviews, myself and investigator Alexander.
Okay, and where did you conduct those interviews?
At the Newton County Sheriff's Office.
Okay, who did you interview?
Courtney Bell.
Okay.
And I was also present for Mr. McNabb's interview also.
Okay. And I guess after you conducted these interviews, what did you do?
Well, once the baby was found, the investigation was officially turned over fully to Major Felony Unit, and investigator Alexander took the lead on the case.
Okay, so does that conclude your involvement with this case?
Yes.
No further questions?
Thank you. Investigator Freeman, when a call comes out, generally a patrol officer generally comes out to the scene. Is that fair?
That's right.
And then if the scene appears to have escalated, or if it needs an escalation, then that person will call a supervisor or an investigator. Is that correct?
That's right.
And that's kind of what happened in this case. You were the on-call investigator, so you initially came out and analyzed the scene.
Yes.
Once you saw the kind of the magnitude of what was going on, you determined to turn it over to Major Felony Unit, and then it was assigned to Investigator Alexander. Is that fair?
That's right.
The one other step you could have taken, or that Investigator Alexander could have taken, is to request assistance from the GBI. Is that correct?
Actually, that is in the protocol of what we can do. That is technically per request of the sheriff. We debrief our supervisors, and then those decisions are made at a higher level.
Okay, absolutely. But once it goes through from patrol to you, and then you determine it needs to go to major felonies, then at some point the sheriff needs to make a decision. Am I going to ask the GBI to help?
Sir, I'm not sure of the question. All I know is we tell our supervisors what's going on, how that all works above us. I'm not 100% sure.
In your experience, have you ever worked a scene where the GBI did assist?
No, I have not.
Okay. The afternoon of the 7th, you asked for a search warrant, and you received it, and you made a very thorough search of the house.
Yes.
But neither Mr. McNabb nor Ms. Bell at any time told you couldn't search the house. Is that correct?
No, they never declined us to search.
In fact, they were searching for help, to the best of your knowledge, whenever they called police.
Right.
Okay, that's all I have, Judge.
Okay, Mr. Frost?
With regard to the possible suspects, investigator. Detective?
Investigator.
Investigator.
It's fine. Corporal.
You ran those down, and they, none of those panned out?
Repeat your question.
You said you had a few possible suspects that were given to you, is that correct?
Right.
And you did search those?
Yes.
Okay, and you ran out of road on those, if you will?
Right, yeah. We did a search. I contacted a couple different people.
Understood. I won't make you go through it all.
Yeah.
And you took the statement from Miss Bell?
Myself and, not the day of, there's two
There's-
different times.
Right.
The
Well, that-
second day,
Okay.
the following day on Sunday, myself and investigator Alexander talked to her.
And so you're aware that she's got multiple statements out there?
Yes,
And all those were freely and voluntarily given, correct?
yes.
And as Mr. Carter pointed out, at no point did the couple, Miss Bell, Mr. McNabb, ever even raise a fuss at all about searching of the premises, the trailer?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, sir.
Ms. Stone,
Nothing further, Judge.
you may step down. Call your next witness.
The state calls Kimberly Morris.
I look, Bubba. I look.
We were right there, guys. Hey, y'all wouldn't have found her. We were not out there.
Sit down. Will you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the matter now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Right, you can put your hand down and then have a seat. And if you'll just pull that chair all the way up to the microphone. Okay, will you state your name for the record?
Kimberly Morris.
Okay. And Kimberly, I'm going to direct your attention back to October of 2017. How did you, I guess, become involved in this case?
I saw that Saturday morning, or that Saturday afternoon, I'm sorry, where they had been posting that they were going to call off the search and that there were a group on Facebook that was just going to start a search on their own because the cops had called theirs off. And so I messaged a girl and said, hey, if you get it going, let me know, I'll be there. And so she messaged me Sunday morning and told me, we have clearance from the cops, we're good to go, meet me at the church, and we're gonna search. And that's how I did it.
All right, so on Sunday morning, that's October 8th, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And did you actually go and meet out at the church?
We first met at a cemetery, and I honestly could not even tell the name of the cemetery. It was pretty far away. And then we all left there and went to the church and met.
Okay. Do you know the name of that church?
It's High Point.
Okay, is that off Highway 36?
It is.
And where is that in location, I guess, where the baby went missing from?
It is actually directly beside, there's the church and a small patch of woods and then the trailer park.
Okay. And, all right, what happened once you got, you said they moved it to the church?
Yes.
Okay, what happened once you got to the church?
A group of us met and we all started searching. If you're looking at High Point from 36, it's 36, correct? If you're looking at the church from the road, we started looking to the left of the church.
Okay, I'm gonna actually show you State's Exhibit 16.
Okay.
Okay, do you mind pressing the clear button on your screen? Can you do that? Okay. Okay, are you familiar with this location?
I am.
Okay. And I guess where is the church that you're referring to? You can, if you press on your screen, you can actually draw.
Let's see. I'm trying to see. Where? I'm turned around here.
Okay, if this is the mobile home park.
Okay, so the church
And
is.
this is Highway 36.
The church is here? Is that the church?
I can't see where.
That would be at the top of the screen, and on down the screen would be Lake Jackson, 36.
Okay. And you said this here is the trailer park, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so.
Does this?
Yeah, there it is.
Okay.
That's
So
what I
if
was
y'all
looking
met
for.
there, then where did you go from there?
We started up this way and searched all through here. We went across the road here, and then there's a pavilion at the church because it started pouring down rain. We had to kind of halt everything. We went under that pavilion and we waited for the rain to come out or stop. And then once it stopped, we kind of went down this way and made our way down through here.
Okay. And what happened after you made your way down through there?
Let's see, we were here.
We come all the way down through here and searched all this up through here. And here is where the jacket, the wallet, and the bong, I guess is what you call it, was found. So,
Okay, I'm sorry, I just want to stop you right there. I think you put a little X, is that, will you press clear again and then
yeah,
put the one mark where you said you found that?
this is the path, correct? Right there. That right in there. Yeah,
Done it
that's
several times. You're the one
yes,
who
sir.
testified.
Yes, sir. But this is where we found that stuff.
Okay. All right, and the stuff, you said that stuff, I guess what?
The jacket, it was a camo jacket, an empty leather wallet, and a bong,
Okay,
drug bong.
Sorry, what did you do at that point?
We actually told everyone not to touch it, leave it alone, and I walked back down here, called the non-emergency sheriff's number, and told them we need to have an officer come out and look at it because we think that it should be something to be seen. One, there were kids in that trailer park that we didn't want to have access to, and two, we didn't know what it was.
Okay, and did it look like those items had been there for like a long period of time?
No, honestly, it did not. It had been pouring rain, and they were dry.
Okay. Did law enforcement come out? And
They
respond?
did.
Okay.
They came out at that point, and when they got there, we showed them everything, and I told the officer I was the one that had called because we had a lady that was actually waiting down here at the road to show them where we were. And at that point, a lot of us just kind of dispersed and went back to searching while they did their part with that because we couldn't be there with that anyway. And then we all walked back up to the church, and at that point, someone come running up and yelled, "The baby has been found, the baby has been found." So we all come back down.
Okay, so you went back there after you had heard that, but you weren't present for...
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, and I guess, what did you do after that?
At that point, I stood out, because by the time I had gotten there, they had already put the yellow tape up, because they did that pretty quick. And I held Megan back because she was trying to get in there to the baby. And just asked the media to stay out of her face because they were putting the camera directly in her face and tried to get everybody back up to the church so that they could do their job.
No further questions.
Carter?
Thank you, Judge. Hi, Ms. Morris.
Hello.
Would you mind pushing clear one more time on this?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So if this is the church, your search kind of went in this direction?
Yes.
And then you came back through and you went all the way toward this direction?
That is correct.
And you believe the jacket you were talking about found it?
Yes.
Generally right here?
Yes.
Not holding you to it, but...
Yeah, it was...
Generally that area?
Yes.
Okay. And in there, did you specifically find it yourself? In other words, or did you see who actually put their eyes on it and said, "Here's something"?
Yes, I know exactly who spotted it first.
Okay. And then, so did you kind of open it up just to see what was in it?
No, I never touched it.
Okay. Was the wallet, was it inside the jacket, or was it just laying on top?
I do not know because the lady took a stick and picked the jacket up.
Okay. And then, when you say a bong, you mean something that's used to smoke tobacco
Marijuana.
or marijuana?
Yes.
Okay. All right. When you say you're trying to hold Megan back, is that Megan Sorrells?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Frost?
No questions, thank you.
Ms. Stone? You may step down. You may call your next witness.
State Cross Tara Robinson.
We were the only news crew there when search volunteers found Caliyah McNabb's body.
Swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in the matter now pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you can have a seat. Just pull your chair up to that microphone. Will you state your name for the record?
My name is Tara Robinson.
Okay. Now I'm going to direct your attention back to October 8th of 2017. Were you involved in a search party to locate a missing child?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And on that date, I guess, what area were you searching in?
I was searching, I had just started down the trail and I was walking the wood line by the property.
Okay. And is that a trail, what is that trail near? I'm sorry.
There's just a trail back behind the trailer park and it's a bunch of wooded area, and there are several trails that branch off to it, and I was just walking down the main trail.
Okay. And when you were walking down that main trail, did you notice anything that was out of the ordinary?
I saw the officer standing there.
Okay. What officer? I mean, I'm sorry. You saw an officer standing on that trail?
Oh, he was standing where the jacket was.
Okay. And what happened after that?
I had went into the opposite direction past him, and I just proceeded to continue looking in the wooded area.
Okay. And did you see anything that was out of the ordinary for being in the woods?
Yes, eventually I did come to a clearing. It looked like a log that was sitting there. It just looked at a place. It was sitting over a big open hole.
Okay. And did you see anything in that area?
I started looking. The tree log was unusual to me, the way it was sitting, and under the log was a pile of sticks and twigs up underneath it. I had picked up one of the sticks and began to move away some of the leaves, and that's when I saw the black string.
And did you do anything about that black string?
I took the stick and I pulled it up to see what it was, and it was a bag, and that's when I told one of the children to go get the officer.
Okay. And did law enforcement come over to where you were?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you remember what that bag looked like?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you explain it?
It was like a royal blue, like a medium shade blue with a red small Michael Jordan symbol on it with black drawstrings. It was a drawstring book bag.
I have no further questions.
Thank you, Judge. Hi, Ms. Robinson. I'm Anthony Carter. We
Hi.
met, right?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the area? Do you recognize this as the area around where the child was found?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So if this is Eagle Point Mobile Home Park, can you can use your finger actually on the screen. Can you show us kind of the area where you went on your search?
The area that I went was down towards here,
Okay.
in this area.
All right. Can you tell on this approximately where you found the bag?
It was right here in this area.
Okay. Now, was this the first time that you had looked? I mean, did you just join the search at this particular time?
Yes, I had went out there at a later time, and I was doing my own search with a group of people.
Okay. And so, your mother lives right here, right?
The one beside it right here.
Right.
That one,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. And so the cut through to get to to this little path is beside this house here, right?
Yes, that's a shed, yes.
Because it's fenced right here.
Yes, sir.
In the open. So you go past this little house and you cut this way and then you come up. Is that fair?
Yes, there's a trail that leads all the way back there.
Okay. And that trail, there are power lines overhead,
Mhm.
and it's fairly clear, you know,
Yes.
compared to the other sides.
Yes.
Okay. So, and you can go straight down that all the way to Henderson Mill.
Yes.
And so when you came out there, the officer that you saw, he was somewhere near the clear area, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. I'm losing my voice. I always do this time of day. When you came, you went actually to the right of that path. Is that right? At some point, you went to the right.
Yeah, where the officer was standing, I had turned past him. I had walked past him in that direction.
And then you turned right.
Yes, I did. And I followed the wood trail all the way over there till I saw that other open area.
Now, the place where you found the bag, if you would have gone through on the other side on this other person's property, there's a much clearer area to
Yes.
get to it. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
And actually, from Henderson Mill Road, there's like a very clear path to that little depression.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if you're coming from this direction, you're going to have to get through some woods and stuff to get to that. If you're going down the very open area, you're going to have to go through some woods to get to the place where the bag was found.
Yes.
If you come the other way, on the other side of that wood line, you're going to have to go through less woods, but some woods still to get to the area where the depression was, where the bag was.
Yes.
But if you're coming from Henderson Mill Road, from this way, and you can almost see it. If you're coming from Henderson Mill Road, this little depression here, this little opening here, that's actually where the depression is, isn't it?
Yes.
And I think the man has his trash can sitting right there in front of where that opening is.
Yeah, it wasn't far from his driveway. It was
Right.
very close to it.
And so from his trash can, if his trash can was in this little opening here, it's maybe 20 feet to the depression where the bag was found.
I would say so, yes.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frost?
No questions, thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Stone? You may step down. Short witness, brief witness, or?
I do.
Okay. Then I'll ask you to call your next witness.
State calls Timothy Dickerson. Raise your right hand, please. You solemnly swear the testimony you're about to present in the matter now pending before this jury today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Have a seat. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Sergeant Timothy Dickerson,
Where are you employed, sir?
the Newton County Sheriff's Office,
How long have you been employed at the sheriff's office?
14 years.
And what is your rank?
Sergeant,
What are your current assignments?
Patrol Division.
Okay. I'm going to draw your attention back to October the 8th of 2017. Did you have the occasion on that day to respond over in the area of Henderson Mill?
I did.
Now, previous to that day, had you been aware of what had taken place the day before over in the Eagle Point Mobile Home Park?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you in fact respond to that park?
I did.
And were you familiar then with this ongoing search that was taking place not only by deputies but also by members of the community for baby Caliyah?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on October the 8th, when you responded to Henderson Mill Road, were you meeting with other law enforcement officers or with civilian citizens?
I was meeting Corporal Kent with the Sheriff's Office, who was in turn meeting with civilians at that location.
And why did you go to that area?
Corporal Kent had received information that citizens searching the area had located a camouflage jacket located just inside of a wood line off of a power line easement.
Okay. Now, I suspect that they thought this jacket was somehow related to the baby that was missing?
Yes, ma'am. Underneath the jacket was drug paraphernalia.
Okay. And when you say drug paraphernalia, generally, can you describe what that means?
There were some wrapping papers generally used for rolling marijuana cigarettes. It was also a hookah type pipe, other various things. But that's the two biggest things I remember.
Now, did you pick up those items, or what did you do with them?
We called for crime scene specialist Mickey Kitchens to be en route to collect those items.
Now, did you make a report about this response that you made?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that report, did you describe where these items were found in relation to the wood line?
Yes, ma'am. They were approximately 5 foot into the wood line off of this power line easement that runs from Henderson Mill Road to the back of the trailer park.
Okay. So if you were traveling from the trailer park down the power line easement and you were heading towards Henderson Mill Road, were the items found 5 foot to the left into the woods or 5 foot to the right?
To the right.
Okay. And you indicated that y'all called Mickey Kitchens to the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And who is he again?
He is our crime scene specialist. He's normally he'll come out and he'll photograph the scenes and then he'll collect the evidence.
Okay. And did you allow any of these citizens to continue to look at the items or touch them or move them around?
No, ma'am.
Did you keep them as much as possible in the state in which they were found?
Yes, ma'am.
And at some point after that, did you get notified by other citizens that there was something else discovered nearby?
Yes, ma'am. Two boys had came back through the wood line and advised me that they had found a bag not far from where I was located. I left Corporal Kent with the jacket and paraphernalia, and I went and followed them to the bag.
Okay. And when you got to that area, what did you observe?
There was a depression in the ground, and on one end of it there was a large root, and then under it was a hole. inside of that hole was a blue drawstring bag.
I'm going to show you what's been marked as State's Exhibit number 49 through 54. Sorry. All right. If you can take a look at States 49 through 54 and tell me if you recognize these.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And how do you recognize these?
The first one is the camouflage jacket, and then the other one is the other ones are the bag that I've located.
Do these photographs fairly and accurately depict the items that these groups of citizens pointed out to you and Deputy Kent there in the wood line on October the 8th?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd offer State's Exhibit number 49 through 54 into evidence.
Each is submitted without objection.
May I publish them, Judge? Can you hit clear? There's a button on your, okay, thank you. All right, so I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 49. And can you tell us what's depicted in State's 49?
That is the camouflage jacket.
And I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 50. Can you tell us what's depicted in this photograph?
Believe that is still the jacket.
Go out instead of in. There we go.
Yes, ma'am, that is still the camouflage jacket.
And once that item was lifted, I believe you indicated that there was some type of paraphernalia under there. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 51. Does that depict what you were talking about?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
And are those items there that are in this photograph, are those ones that you described as a hookah and rolling papers?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll show you State's Exhibit number 52. Is this photograph, again, of those items that you were talking about?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
State's Exhibit number 53. Can you tell us what's depicted in State's Exhibit number 53?
That is the bag inside the hole underneath the root.
And again, can you tell us what's depicted in State's Exhibit number 54?
That's another photo of the bag.
Now, when this bag was located, had anybody picked it up to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
And when you arrived, I guess you left?
I left.
Did you leave Corporal Kent with
Yes,
the
ma'am.
camouflage jacket?
I did.
And then you went over to where this bag was?
I did.
How many citizens roughly were there gathered around this area?
I could see 4 or 5 from where I was at, but I know there were more through the woods that I didn't see.
And did you stand by this bag until crime scene investigator Mickey Kitchens arrived?
No, ma'am, not initially. Start off with, I used my index finger and my thumbs and pulled open, and I could see clothing objects inside of it. And when I was doing so, I kind of pulled like that with it, and I could tell it had some weight to it. And at that point, I told Corporal Kent that I needed crime scene specialist Kitchens to come to where I was at.
And when you said that there was some weight to it, how heavy was that? Could you describe?
I could tell it was heavier than the clothing items that I could see, but I didn't pull on it hard enough to tell its exact weight.
And what did you believe that was found there? Or did you know?
I thought it could have possibly been Caliyah, excuse me.
I'm showing you State's Exhibit number 57. Can you tell us what's depicted in 57?
That's the bag again, and a piece of cloth inside of it.
Okay. And would that have been similar to the view that you would have seen when you opened the bag?
Yes, ma'am, similar.
Okay. And were you present when Investigator Kitchens arrived on scene to open the bag?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you observe him remove some of those clothing items that you described from the bag?
Yes, ma'am. I watched him take each item out individually and photograph it until he got to the very bottom item in the bag.
Okay. Your Honor, not for State's 57 into evidence.
Submitted without objection.
So I'm now going to show you State's Exhibit number 57, and can you tell us again what's depicted there?
That is the bag with a clothing item, I believe, that I'm looking at.
Did that bag appear to have been there for a very long period of time?
No, ma'am. It had rained the night before,